Well, Emma, thank you so much for joining me here on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I'm really thrilled to have you here. We're going to talk about something that I think is ingrained very deeply into each and every one of us. So I'm really excited to get going. But before we get started, why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi, thank you so much, Henriette, for having me along. It's an honour to be here, and I am a transformation coach and clinical hypnotherapist, and I also use a quantum life technique in my work. I help particularly female entrepreneurs stop undervaluing themselves, stop doubting, comparing themselves, so that they can get out of their own way and increase their income, their impact, and their fulfillment.
Yes. And I think this is, like I said, this is something that is so deeply ingrained in each and every one of us. So I'm really excited to share everything that you've got with you today, with the audience, because I think it's really going to help each and every one of us just to really focus a little bit more on about what we can really do and about how we can change our circumstances and, you know, just have the fulfillment that we all want, not just in business, but in life as well.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how your journey got started. What was that pivoting moment for you that made you decide, hey, this is where I want to go? And how does that take you, or how did that take you to where you are now?
So I had a lot of issues that kind of, well, actually, I had a lot of anxiety and self-worth issues. And I thought that was normal because that was just a part of how I'd grown up and who I was. And then it sort of kind of started to manifest in physical issues as I sort of went into my 20s, late 20s. And I just woke up one morning and thought, I can't do this anymore. I had this like knot of anxiety in my stomach. I just felt like nothing ever worked for me. Nothing would go right for me. You know, relationships were disastrous. And so I embarked on a journey of therapy. Found myself an amazing therapist, and that was for about 4.5 years of work, which massively turned my life around. And I thought I would actually like to do something similar, you know, help people. So I looked at kind of different therapy programs, etc. And I came across kind of transformational therapy work and thought, wow, this sounds like it's for me. And of course, when you do that, you do your own work as well. So I did swaps with other practitioners. We had to do our own work as we were training. And I was actually really shocked at how many limiting beliefs and sort of self-worth blocks I still had, even after all that therapy. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And so even though, you know, the anxiety disappeared, I had the coping strategies and the coping skills, and I didn't understand where that was actually coming from. And I had quite a lot of aha moments using this kind of therapeutic work and coaching work to sort of discover, you know, what is driving those belief systems as an adult. And it basically all stems from childhood. Mm-hmm. It's all coming from our experiences, what we heard said about us, what we heard said to us from caregivers, teachers, siblings, peers. It's kind of, that is the blueprint for our adult results and feelings about ourselves and beliefs about ourselves and the world around us as well. So that's how I fell into it, basically.
That's amazing. And it's such a lovely story. And I find this is so unique to everybody, because when I talk about everybody's story, you can just hear how everybody's journey is different in so many ways, but it always stems from an experience, something that you had to go through your first. And it's like you're saying, it is that kind of belief system that you're building, that you're making your own at the end of the day, and that's developing you as an adult. But I think in so many ways as well, for the audience listening, they would go like, yes, okay, so my circumstances, you know, kind of really developed me as who I am, which is true, but you don't have to stay in those circumstances. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit as well here today. So I think the one thing that I want to ask is, one of the things that you want to talk about is how we really can get the results that we want in business or in life. And Can you talk us a little bit through with that? Because I think that is one of the first things people will go like, okay, but how do I do this? How do I get the results that I want in life? I don't want to stay stuck with where I am at now.
Yeah. And I think just before the how, it's good to look at the why, because that understanding is so powerful. The understanding of why something happens, for me, it gives us choice. It gives us the possibility to make a different choice and do something different, and actually understand that, you know, what is going on in our lives is not necessarily a conscious thing. We're not deliberately sabotaging ourselves. We're not deliberately trying to mess up our lives. It's all coming from unconscious or subconscious programs that are running our behaviors and our and therefore our results in life. And so this is the place where I'd like to start. And when we think, well, I do this and that's not happening, and then I do that and that doesn't make any difference, and a lot of people will say, well, it's because of your strategy, or it's because you've got these family commitments, you haven't got time, or it's bad luck, or it's your competition. I say go a step before that and look at the reason that you might not be getting what you want in life is because, it sounds a bit harsh, but we are getting in our own way. It is us that stops us from getting what we want. Or more specifically, it's our minds that stop us from getting what we want. So self-sabotage is basically allowing our minds to take us out of the game, what we want. And that is also something that we are not aware of. Nobody teaches you that we are kind of slaves to our conditioning, our program mind. No people at school don't tell you that. You don't get told that when you grow up. And so that knowledge, that understanding of where it's coming from is the first step for me.
Yeah.
And so basically we all have a little voice in our heads that tells us, can't do that. What are you doing that for? What will people think? That's not good enough. That little voice that kind of crops up, it's like a kind of, I don't know, it's like a background movie that's constantly assessing and reflecting and butting in sometimes when it's not wanted into what is going on in our lives. And it is basically the mind's job to make sure that you are doing what it thinks that you want it to do, which sounds a bit confusing. So if you're telling yourself, I really hate being visible, I really hate speaking at a networking event, I really don't want to do a presentation, your mind is listening to all this and going, okay, we have to keep you away from that. And so it comes up with all kinds of tricks and ways of getting you away from it, because its job, it's designed to keep you away from things that are painful, difficult, not pleasurable. That's what it's trying to do, because its main job is to keep us alive on the planet. So it's our mind that is keeping us stuck or in the way, and it's because we are listening to those little thoughts, those thought loops of, this isn't perfect, this isn't good enough, you'll never do well, money's for other people, success isn't for you, you've got to keep working hard, otherwise you'll never succeed. And if we stay attached to those thoughts that are coming from our mind, if we have a lot of negative thinking and self-doubt, then we can't change what's happening in our lives, because our thoughts affect our feelings then affect our behaviors and our actions get us our results. So if we want to change our results, we have to start at the very beginning with the thoughts. That's where we have to make the changes. So my one thing that I tell people is, you are not your mind. Even though people think they are their mind, you're not your mind. You have an arm, but you're not your arm. You have a leg, you're not your leg. This is a great quote that I got from this guy called T. Harv Eker. You have a leg, but you're not your leg. And I love that. and you have a mind, but you are not your mind. Your mind is just a part of you, and it starts your behaviors. 95% of your behaviors and your actions are coming from your subconscious programming, and this gets programmed into you between the ages of 0 and 7, because it's a way that we survive. We have to fit in, we have to look at, copy, observe, we have to absorb what our caregivers are doing and saying and believing, because that's how we survive. Yes. So I just want to show you this little thingy here. This is my little brick phone. It's not actually a big brick phone. I had one a lot bigger than this. It's quite some time old now. And if I said to you, you need to use this little brick phone. It's not got internet or anything. You need to use this to run your life. Most people would go, right, I'll just run down to the O2 shop or whatever it is and get that upgraded. No one would accept this. But our mind's programming far outdate, is that the right word? Is much older than this phone. Yet people, wouldn't sort of think, oh, I need to go and upgrade my mind. But you can go and upgrade your mind, and the same programs that run this or run an iPhone, they get upgraded, and you can do that with your mind as well. So am I going off on a bit of a tangent here? Sorry.
No, it's brilliant. Actually, I absolutely love it. I'm shaking my head constantly. It feels like I'm shaking my head off my shoulders. But it is so true, because in so many ways, what you're saying, I've experienced myself as well. And I can only talk for myself. I can't talk for my clients, but I have seen it in my clients as well when we go through the processes. Personally, for myself, I think that's one of the biggest aha moments that I had when I went through this journey of self-development, self-discovery, and upgrading myself, upgrading my mind, where I realized that so many of the limiting beliefs we have, really starts from childhood, like you said, from the age from 0 to 7. And it doesn't stop there. It even still continues. But those kind of foundations start at the early ages of your life. And that kind of makes you who you are. But then from there, it kind of grows, and people make up stories, or people tell you stories, or then you immediately think that if those stories that they're telling is true, then that relates to me. And immediately that's another belief that you're putting on yourself, when that's not the case. I mean, a silly example, when I was working in corporate, I tried to be a salesperson, and I was very bad at it. And even so that my boss said to me, she's like, I don't think sales is for you. So immediately I made that belief that I'm not good at selling. So for a very long time, when I started my business, I hated selling. I honestly did. And I just thought, how on earth can I run a business if I can't sell? I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And it's only when I realized that I made that story a belief, and when I kind of swung that around and I realized I can change it, I can upgrade my mindset. I don't have to keep on holding on to that old phone in my mind. I love that analogy. Everything changed, and I became amazing at selling, but in an authentic way, with who I am, congruent and aligned with who I am. And now I love it. It's one of the things where I just feel like I'm so passionate about it, because I can see the difference it makes. It is not about the financial aspects, about the difference that you make. So that is just one example. But I think in context to what you're saying, as soon as people realize that who they are today is a subconscious thing. And I think this is one of the things, like you said, why are we doing what we're doing? Because of your beliefs. But people are not really realizing consciously that their subconscious is controlling their lives.
What is interesting with what you were saying about your boss telling you that is a person in authority. And so when we have someone in authority giving us some information, it's more impactful. It has a deeper effect on us. And what we can also understand is that the mind responds to pictures. So what is conjured up, a picture of someone selling, a salesperson? Most of us don't have a very positive image of what someone selling to us is. So you can think of the kind of dodgy car salesman or the doorstep salesperson. These are quite negative connotations that we have with selling. Just to link with what you were saying about that, in particular with with women is that there is so much conditioning that goes on. We're basically slaves to our conditioned mind, and I do think things are changing, hopefully, but many of us were brought up as little girls having to, or expected to, put others first, put the feelings of other people before our own, not make a fuss, just get on with things. And this leads to, you know, a very sort of deep fear of being visible often. Girls who were kind of smart, stood out, you know, always got the hands up with an answer, you know, what would they be labeled as? The goody two shoes, the teacher's pet. And these sort of this teasing or even bullying has a really huge effect on girls' confidence, because then they shut down, they step back, they move away from that not limelight, but being seen. They move away from it, because to their subconscious mind, it's not safe. It's not safe to be seen, because those comments, that bullying, the teasing, it's seen as a threat to our survival. Yeah. Our deepest fear is rejection. Rejection at a primal level means certain death. If you were rejected from your tribe thousands of years ago, you wouldn't be able to survive. And we still have that. We still have that deep fear of rejection, that we need to fit in, we need to be part of a group, we need to be part of a tribe.
Yeah.
So in particular with women, this sort of feeling of got to put other people's feelings first. So this means that we're always overgiving, overdoing, people pleasing. My goodness, you know, I had my fair share of people pleasing, but that is a huge issue with women in particular.
Yeah.
And then when you're trying to please people, when you're trying to not feel rejected, this affects your kind of how you charge as well, your beliefs around charging money. And there's another kind of branch to this, that, you know, our beliefs about money, what money means to us, start very, very young.
Yes.
Money can have all kinds of emotions attached to it. There could be fear. Money could have been a source of arguments in the family. It could have been a source of manipulation, particularly when there was one breadwinner and the other person had to sort of, you know, wait for the money to be given to them or whatever. It could have been a source of a lot of trauma or anxiety in a family. And so if our beliefs are money causes arguments, money is bad, what people say about wealthy people, rich people are mean, you know, rich people do no good, it's humble to be poor, all of these things, all of these words that we hear just go straight in to the subconscious, and that forms our blueprint as an adult for how we attract money. And because I mentioned before, the subconscious's main job is to keep us alive on the planet. If all our beliefs about money are painful, negative, destructive, then the mind doesn't care whether money is good or bad. It just has to keep you away from what is painful, destructive and bad. So we end up unconsciously rejecting it, which is just crazy. And so, you know, that affects how women price themselves. They often undervalue what they're giving. And so this worth and wealth is just so linked, it's so enmeshed. Yeah. That's a word.
It's so interesting, because as you're saying that, I'm at this moment, I'm reading the book Money and the Law of Attraction by Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks. Okay. And it's almost like you're quoting from the book. So as you're saying these things, I'm referring constantly in my mind back to the book, because it's like you've got the book in front of you and you're quoting from it the whole time. But I do find it's very interesting, because at the end of the day, you know, what they're saying is very much in line with what you're saying. But I think for women in particular, like, we really want to help. We really feel we are the carer. We really feel that we need to support. And because of that, when you go in business, it's a completely different ball game. This is where we underquote ourselves, like you said. This is where we don't put up our prices. This is where we feel that, you know, I can't do that because of X. And there's always a because, isn't there?
Yeah, yes.
So no, I find it very interesting what you're saying. But also, I think, you know, from people, let's talk about undercharging ourselves. I think that is a big topic in itself as well. Why would women want to undercharge themselves when they feel they can really deliver great value?
I think it's because of that negative chatter that in the self-doubt that comes with that. And often, you know, at the beginning, when I was first working as a therapist, I was hardly charging anything, but the results that I was getting for people, or the results people were getting for themselves with me guiding them, they were huge. And sometimes you can't put a monetary value on them. You know, saving someone's relationship or their health, or you know, turning around their belief system around what they can achieve in their business. And I think even though we know that what we've got is good and it can help people, there is that sort of doubt that we feel responsible for the results when actually it's the other person's responsibility. We can be the guide, we can be the conduit, or whatever you want to call it. We can facilitate the transformation, the change, the healing. However, the other person is responsible for how they use that information, how committed they are to it. And so it's that, for me, it's that feeling responsible for the actions, the thoughts, the behaviors of other people. And a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to control what other people think and feel about them. It's impossible. You just cannot control that. You cannot control what another person does. And I think we tend to be brought up thinking that we need to be in control of that. And there's a fear that if those people don't feel positive about us, it's a reflection on us rather than a reflection on them. Does that
makes
sort of...
absolute sense. It makes absolute sense. And I think this is really true, in particular for coaches, you know, because when I started as well, I felt exactly just like you said. When I started my business, I felt responsible for every client that I was working with. And I felt that I was responsible for the way they were taking the actions, what they were thinking, what they were going through. But that is not the case at any point. Everybody is responsible for their own thoughts. And once I came to that realization, it's almost like, oh, you know, I can really give more value here, but it's up to them to what responsibility they want to take on and what transformation they want to go through at the end of the day.
Yeah. And when you do that, when you let go of that responsibility and you bring in that acknowledgement that the client is the person who is responsible for, you know, ultimately for getting their results, you change who you start attracting to your business.
Yeah.
Because if you are a person who feels over responsible, like, you know, everything is on your head 100%, you will get people coming to you who will expect you to fix them, and that it's your job to fix them. It's your job to sort them out. It's your job. You will attract people who are not prepared to take responsibility for their own results. And that is exhausting. My goodness, that is just soul destroying.
Yes, it is.
You know, the more you believe in yourself and what you have to offer, and the confidence that you have in yourself will deflect those people who just want someone else to blame. It sounds harsh, but it's true. And you will attract people who will level up to your level, who will want to, you know, well, this person is confident, believes in themselves. That helps them to feel more confident they can get results. But also, when you're actually charging your worth, you're getting people who will actually see the value in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to make it clear here. So for all the coaches and everybody here who's in a specific profession of helping somebody else listening to this, when we say that it is not your responsibility for what your client is thinking or what the actions they're taking, it doesn't mean that you don't care. Okay. I just want to make that very clear.
Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't come across.
No, not at all. But I just want to really make it clear here. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means that you need to be very clear from the beginning with a client that you're working from, that it's their responsibility as to what the outcome is that they want at the end of the day. You can guide them, like Emma's saying, you can guide them, you can facilitate them, you can help them, you can support them. But at the end of the day, the responsibility is still theirs. And I think this was one of the biggest aha moments that I had when I made that realization that the end result still depends on them, not on me. I can help them, but as soon as I realized that they still have to take that responsibility to have that end result, everything became so much clearer. And also, in so many ways, I was then able to give them more value for them to go through that transformation and to have that change, because they then knew that it just didn't depend on me, it depended on them. And with that kind of mindset, again, the transformation started happening a lot more quicker. So I just wanted to put that there in order for everybody just to clarify and just to realize, if you're still in the beginning stage of your business or in your coaching business, or even, if you're just selling products or any other services, you still have to realize that there is that kind of, how can I say, that difference between whose responsibility it is. Your responsibility is to give value, to add value to their lives and to guide them, facilitate them. But their responsibility is to take ownership of that and make sure that they want to see that transformation through. So in just a nutshell, I just wanted to make that very clear. But I absolutely love this, because I think there's so many great golden nuggets that is coming from this, Emma. And I hope you don't mind me butting in with this, but I just absolutely love it. Shall we move on and talk about a couple of tips that you can help the audience with in order to build that self-worth, to help them stop with that self-sabotage as well?
Yes. So I mentioned before about us not having people to praise us at work. So we need to be our own praiser or praisee. Is that the word? We have to learn how to praise ourselves and give ourselves encouragement. Ultimately, that is our responsibility. Even if you do have a boss, that you can't just rely on them to tell you that you've done a good job, but you're actually coming to the awareness of the work that you are doing and praising yourself. And for a lot of people, it just feels wrong. It doesn't feel right. And it's not that it's not right. It's just, it's not familiar. We weren't brought up like that to praise ourselves, or it wasn't modeled to us. You get people whose parents are happy to praise their kids, but they can't do it for themselves. And kids pick up on that. They hear they notice when you bring yourself down, when you diminish yourself or your partner or someone else. They hear you diminishing someone else. They pick up on that. And so I always think about imagining yourself as a newborn baby. The newborn babies, they don't come into this world fearing being looked at or fearing getting things wrong or failing. They learn to walk, they keep falling over, and they don't sit there and kind of go, oh, look at me, I've failed at walking, I'm not going to try that again. They keep getting up, they keep going, they keep doing it until they learn. Feeding themselves, they get food in their hair, they don't care, they still feel amazing and they still feel cute. Imagine you as that little baby. You wouldn't talk to that baby in the way that you talk to yourself. You wouldn't talk to your kids in the way that you talk to yourself. And so which I'm not going to do here, but a little exercise I get people to do is to actually close their eyes and imagine they have that baby there in their arms, and telling that little baby, I'm so sorry I've diminished you. I'm sorry that I've been getting in your way. You deserve, to reach for the stars. You deserve success. You deserve love, care, attention. And I'm making a commitment to do that now for you. So that's one good tip. Also, the if we're telling ourselves this negative stuff that we don't want to do, and this is quite linked to lack of focus and getting distracted. If there are stuff in business, some of it's amazing, and that's the stuff that we want to do. But the rubbish stuff that we don't want to do, which is necessary, sometimes we just keep putting it off or keep delaying it. We don't get round to doing it. And it's important. There are important things that we need to action for, for our business. They're not always enjoyable. But the more you say, I hate doing this, this sucks, this is bad, I don't want to do this, the more you are reinforcing to your mind that this thing is dangerous. You're reinforcing to the primal part of your brain that doing your 60-second pitch at a network group is dangerous because it makes you feel uncomfortable. So of course, if you have think about people who have a fear of flying, they only have to think of that being on a plane, and they get the chemical reactions in their body that creates the sweaty palms, the breathing. The body is responding as if they are already in that fearful situation. So if you have to do something that you don't like, talk to yourself in a different way and tell yourself that you love doing it. You might not, but the more you do that, the more your mind has got to agree with you, because it does what you tell it. Yeah. So, and also you can think about, okay, so maybe you don't enjoy going to an event and speaking, but what is the outcome of that? Focus on that instead. I love being visible so I can help more people. I love that I will get more connections with women and I'll be able to collaborate. Whatever it is that you will get from doing that thing that you're not keen on, focus on that rather than the actual thing, the beast in the middle.
I've got a great example on that, because I talk to a lot of my clients about being visible, in particular online. And I think this is one of those big beliefs where people just really go like, what do you mean I've got to get on camera? I've got to do a Facebook Live. I've got to, do this kind of interview. And I think people really immediately just have negative connotations, those negative beliefs, those limiting beliefs to it. But I always say that, once you start talking to yourself and you're seeing the positive outcome, exactly what you just said, people start changing their mindset about it. But then also the action that's going to be taken afterwards, I think, is really important. I always say that, with every actionable step you're taking, you actually get a reward, and that reward is confidence. So with an example, doing a Facebook Live, for the first time, you keep on thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to do everything wrong. What are people going to think of me? All of those negative things that you're saying to yourself. But then once you actually show up and you do it, after it's done, you feel like, oh my gosh, I actually feel great that I've done this. I feel, I've really achieved something here. And that confidence spikes up a little. Then you do it again, and the confidence keeps on building. And the more you do it over and over again, the more you actually come to realize that I love it. And I've had so many clients as well that went through the exact same process where they're like, oh no, I'm scared. I don't want to go on lives. I don't want to show up more. But then as soon as I started doing them and I challenged them to do it, they actually came back to say, I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't imagine why I didn't start doing this earlier. And I find it's all starting with just, what you're saying to yourself. How are you going to swing that around to start talking about the positive outcome you want at the end of the day, taking the action, get confident, and before you know it, it is something completely different than what you made up it to be.
Yeah, you're making it a habit as well.
Yeah.
It's like Roger Federer didn't become a champion by picking up a racket and hitting a ball around a few times. He had to keep doing it, keep over and over again, practice. And the more you practice doing those things that at first you're not keen on, the more they become a part of your autopilot system. Yeah. The more natural they feel, because it's becoming a habit, and habits what the mind attaches to, repetitive things that are done over and over again.
Yeah. And the good thing about habits is that they become automated. You don't even have to think about it anymore. So let's take this example again as the Facebook, doing live Facebooks. or showing up live on Facebook, it becomes a habit then again, where you don't even have to think about it. You just start showing up. You're not even concentrating on the fact that it's blinking and saying you're now live, you're now recording. You don't even concentrate on that. It is just such a natural thing for you because you've done it so many times. The confidence is there. Now it's just an automated habit. Well, Emma, I absolutely appreciate this whole conversation we've had so far. I just absolutely love sharing this with the audience. And like I said, I think actually we can talk about this for hours on end because we've got so much, we've got so much that we can go into. But you've got an amazing freebie that you want to give the audience. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And I'll make sure for those of you listening that the link is below in the show notes so you can go and get it there. But Emma, what is this freebie that you're giving to the audience today?
Yeah, sure. So my freebie is a Worthy of Wealth hypnosis audio. So the idea is that the subconscious programmings are accessed much more easily when you're in a state of hypnosis. So hypnosis is what we go in and out of every single day without even realizing it. When you take yourself into a kind of induced state of hypnosis, it's much easier for the neural circuitry in your brain that's keeping those loops, those thought loops going and those belief systems going. It's much easier for them to be interrupted and for new ones to be formed. So this is the reason why it's a hypnosis audio. It is to boost your self-worth so that you feel more confident about giving your prices, about receiving money. Receiving is huge. We have to learn how to feel comfortable with receiving, not just money, but love, compliments, gifts, whatever it is. And it's training the mind to accept and create more money rather than unconsciously reject it, which can happen if our programs have been very negative around money. So that's what it is.
Amazing.
Listen to it every day for at least 30 days. And it's really relaxing, really positive suggestions. Just before you go to bed at night, drift off listening to that.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much for making that available. I've already downloaded mine and I started listening to it. So I can tell each and every one of you listening and watching this video, it is amazing. You're going to love it because I love meditation as well. So anything that anybody always talks about when it comes to hypnosis, those kind of things, I just find it fascinating. So by all means, go down to the show notes and go and get that. But you also have an amazing Facebook group available for the audience. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Facebook group? And then also you've got a fantastic VIP program. Is that right?
Yes, so my Facebook group is Worthy and Wealthy Mums in Business. So I give tips and inspiration to particularly mums, don't have to be mums, but that's kind of my, who I tend to end up working with mostly, and it is my experience. So come along, join the group. And also, so my VIP program I run monthly. I'm hoping to run it. It's an intensive course program for women in business who want to stop undervaluing themselves, stop comparing themselves, stop doubting themselves, and rewire their relationship with money so that they can increase their success, exponentially, and stop the self-sabotage that crops up from that pesky subconscious programming. It's called Accelerate Your Worth and Wealth. So details for that are on my website under the VIP intensive. There's a waiting list if I'm not running one that month. And then if you sign up to my freebies or whatever, you get to hear about that as well. So
amazing. Oh my gosh. So I hope each and every one of you got some great golden nuggets here from Emma. And Emma, I just wanted to say, I really appreciate the time that you've spent here before with us and all the value that you've given here for the audience. So everybody can really just go and do a little bit of deep inner work in order to realize that, where they are now doesn't mean that they have to stay stuck there forever. Before we go, is there any final details, any final things that you would like to leave with the audience?
Yes, I found this quote the other day on LinkedIn, and so I'm going to read this out to you, which I thought was just fabulous and kind of encapsulates what we've been talking about today. And this is by someone called Rupi Kaur, or Kaur, I'm not sure how you pronounce the name. And it's, what is the greatest lesson a woman should learn? that since day one, she's already had everything she needs within herself. It's the world that convinced her that she did not.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That is so well said. Very well said. I do agree with that. Emma, thank you so much again for being here with us. I wish you all of the best. We're going to be in touch fairly soon again. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and thank you for your time here with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been fabulous sharing with you. Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Take care.